Hi, welcome to Zart PD Online. My name is Kylie Wickham and I am a primary school art teacher, and I have also taught secondary school and adult education. In this module we're going to bring you the artwork of Miro. Miro is a Spanish artist born in Barcelona, which is a place full of love and passion, and he was full of love and passion, and that reflects in his work. His work is bold and bright and playful and just full of energy. The students relate to this really well. They like the bright colours, but they also relate to his childlike fantastical figures that he creates and the way he uses his imagination. My students loved it. We are also going to focus on the art elements. We're going to be looking at line, shape and colour. But first we're going to look at some of Miro's work. So we're going to start off looking at this piece of work, and you can see here the use of the primary colours, a big dash of yellow. He likes his circles as well, so you've got your red, your blue, and he often does use a dash of green. Then he uses his lines, thick and thin, and they create shapes, negative and positive, and they actually do create little figures. But we're not going to look at the little creatures yet. We're just going to look at the lines, the shapes, and the colours. So here's another one. Again, you've got your primary colours, always, his little dash of green, and then you've got these nice bold lines and shapes which are filled. And here we go again. We've got this big red hot shape here, and we've got the yellow and the blue, and then this is something else he often does. You'll see his shapes overlap and then they create new shapes, and then the use of the big thick lines and the thin lines. So when I teach this class, I like to teach the students about their colours. So we're going to look at the primary colours. What are primary colours? The word prime means one. So that means all primary colours are made out of one. And there's only three, and they are yellow, red, and blue. When you mix the ones together, it makes two, and hence the name secondary colours. So when I mix the two primary colours together, red and blue, I get a whole new colour. That's the secondary colour of purple. Then I will mix blue and yellow together, and this creates a whole new colour, green. And lastly, when you mix the yellow with the red, the two primary colours make the secondary colour of orange. And your students need to know and understand this. We are going to work with the primary colours. So for this first activity, colour exploration, you will need Kinder squares in your primary colours, a glue stick, a palette, a brush, and black paint. And this is a craft roll. It's quite thick cardboard. Now when you're doing this activity, you can do it more than one way. I put the craft roll down the whole, I join all my tables together and I put the craft roll down the whole table, and I have the children standing around the table working on one giant piece of work. Or you can make just a table work of 6, or if you want to do individual work, you can buy craft sheets of paper and the students can work as individuals. So that's up to you. I've done both ways. I've done it as individuals, pairs, and as a whole table, and it works all ways. It's just how you want the students to relate to each other. So to start off with, you don't need the paint or the palette or the brush or the glue stick. You just need your paper. And we're going to start with ripping. I love ripping, and the kids love ripping because it's sensory. Now, when you do rip paper, paper has a grain in it, so one way rips easier and one way doesn't rip as easy. So when you do, and explain to the children, if it rips straight like that, you're going with the grain of the paper. So if I turn my paper this way, the paper wants to tear that way. So every time I go down that way, it'll bend, but if I go that way, I can get a straight line. Another thing you want to teach the children is that they can fold and tear out shapes. Now this little simple thing is actually very exciting. So they've made a circle and they have the negative, but you've also got the positive. So you can put the positive, like Miro circles, on the other primary colours. Now that's really important. When you put a primary colour on a primary colour, it starts to pop and it's quite magic. I love it. So with the first part, we're just going to rip. And it doesn't matter what they do. Don't stick anything down, just rip different shapes and have a little bit of fun. Put some music on and enjoy what you're doing. When you rip, you get a really nice white jagged edge too. And even though I'm not gluing, you can see just by overlaying the paper, little shapes are starting to appear. And it's already looking good. I think it's looking good. Right, well when I did this with the kids, I actually had the pleasure of seeing a real buzz in the room, and I had students putting their tongues and the eyes through the holes and they got all excited, and I heard a lot of, look what I just made, look what I did. And another thing that was really, really good was that I had some very weak students, and one of those students that's not confident at art and sometimes then misbehaves, he was working beside someone else and they were talking and he was relaxed and it was non-threatening. He was able to do it and he was having success, and he really buzzed and worked well, which made it really exciting for me. So, and the other students that are at the higher end, I found that their shapes got more complicated. They were really like tearing particular shapes, where the ones that weren't as good were just ripping. So everybody was able to do it, because you can rip like semicircles and you can get quite, really lovely shapes, but it is also a confidence thing. But if you're not confident and you're just ripping, you have success as well. Now, when you're gluing, you can maybe lay it out first, and if I do this just like this, I've made a very Miro picture just by taking one of each of the primary colours, just like that, with nothing else. It already looks very Miro because I'm using primary colours and shape. So this really is a winner. So I'm going to start with that shape, and I'm just going to, from that point, add on. So the children will be gluing down these pieces. Now, they'll be having fun, they'll be gluing the pieces down, but also you might find an argument starts. And someone is going to glue something over the top of someone else's work and they're not going to like it, or some bossy person like me, because I was a bossy child, would want to take charge of the artwork. Now that is to be expected, and I actually use that as part of the learning of the lesson, how to get along and how, who owns what artwork and does it really matter, and how to let go, because it's hard to let go of control. Any social problems that occur, they just become part of the art lesson. Once the students have glued their primary colour shapes down, we're going to work with lines. So we're going to take some black paint and a brush. The students basically get one instruction, and that is to outline the shapes. They'll probably ask if they can paint over another shape. They can, but they've got to try to find the shapes and paint around them. So this can be done quite quickly, and again, this is very therapeutic. So, here we go. When you're painting around the primary colours, you're emphasising some shapes and you're blocking some out. And you really don't want too much thinking, just go for it, have a bit of fun. And I'm not joking when I say this, I'm starting to feel a little bit like Miro. I'm having so much fun, these bright colours and the lines, and after looking at his work, I feel very Miro-ish. This is just so much fun, so relaxing. I love those primary colours. And shapes are starting to pop out. And now I can start to see things in it. I can already see little creatures. And I wonder if that's what happened when Miro worked. He just did it, and then he started to see his creatures, and then he started to pull them out. We're going to have a look at a roll of students' work now, and show you how you can cut that into one of Miro's playful figures, and that shows you a couple of options that you can do for display in your own art room or around the school. This is the playful Miro shape, and stuck up on the wall you can see how effective and playful it is, and you can also start to see other shapes within the shape. If you wanted to do it on a glass window, you could actually get the students to work on both sides and then stick it up on a glass window, or you can do it on the wall, or if you did do both sides you could have it hanging down from the ceiling. You have to think about the space that you have to work with display, and how to best present the work, and that then the students get to see their work exhibited in the school, and to showcase their work to the rest of the school as well is quite important. The levels that I teach this at is 1 and 2, but that is not to say that you cannot take it to middle and upper school, because I believe when you have a good art activity, you can use it with anybody. And I know as an adult, I enjoyed that. The upper levels will enjoy it. You can extend them. I personally believe that the art activities are ageless. It just depends on the way they're presented and how you extend and what you do with the students.